these happenings in the earth, let's be sure to make incredibly sure that we know exactly what we're speaking about before we assign who's doing what and when. Because I'll tell you, nothing man ever tried to do. By the way, do you guys know how many times nuclear tests have failed? How many times there have been failed coups and failed launches, failed overthrows, failed attacks on other countries? Lots of times. Mankind cannot do what they want to do. They can't. They just can't do that. In every single war, in every single conflict, people will report seeing things that they can't explain. I personally believe that the watchers are doing their jobs. They do warn people sometimes. They warn governments often. They do that a lot. When I said heard Africa is sending troops to Russia, well, let's say that every army on earth is in the Middle East right now. One of the biggest stories is Israel. You guys do understand that Israel must do a preemptive strike, and that's going to happen in the short term. Have you guys realized that, right? Iranian forces are totally changing who they are involved with. The Middle East policy is going to have to change fast. Right now, I don't believe that it is covered anywhere. I don't believe that. I haven't seen it. But there are massive exchanges and new alliances being forged in the Middle East. Massive ones. And so Israel, right now, is preparing just like Iran is. And you guys know inside of Iran that they're speaking death to the Ayatollah. Do you guys know that? So that's all, that's all messed up. Right? All messed up. So this is DEWs where they used in Maui. Well, actually, guys, I'll tell you this. I will not speculate about Maui. Right? I know it's popular in the online community to come up with all sorts of theories to theorize about Maui. But I looked at the progression of those fires in Maui, and having people on the ground knowing those conditions, it was extremely hot. Right? One spark could have caused some bad problems in Maui. That combined with the winds, just a bad combination. It will not be the first time, right? It's not going to be the first time. Other countries are going to have to deal with the same thing. In fact, we're going to hit a point where everyone is going to have a Maui situation. I personally believe that happened in view of everybody, right? So that we could see and evaluate and really understand how fast these things can take place. Because what would happen if that took place in a state that people aren't really prepared for? What would happen if that took place in Minnesota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Indiana, Kentucky, or Tennessee, right? Where are those people going to run to? At least they're not stuck on a small, island. But I'll tell you right now, that same thing is going to happen in places just like that due to sheer, weather phenomena. Because it's going to be very hot. The grass in Maui was burnt. It was not green. It was brown everywhere. A couple of days before the fire took place, brown grass was everywhere. Normally Maui is plush. Everything is plush, but it was burnt. It was burnt out. It was brown. No color was hardly anywhere. And of course, that's a tinderbox. Temperatures were high, winds were high, and those are, just bad ingredients. They knew it was dry. In fact, they had a council meeting a week before the fires took place about fires and how vulnerable they were, right? They had already staved off a few fires. So, and one quickly got out of control, I believe, 2 weeks prior to that happening, one quickly got out of control. It's just that it took place, that fire took place in a very, they had dirt, and I believe it was some sort of lava rock or something like that next to it where it couldn't really spread, but it just went up with a snap of a finger. So expect those conditions to replicate themselves around the globe. Pretty soon, every place is going to be like, and it always worries me because of things I've seen. I've seen these conditions before, and it causes me to pay great attention. And in fact, it causes me every single day of my life to understand that time is extremely short. That's what it does. Keeps me on my toes because I know that these things are going to take place around the globe. You know, the other day I was starting a conversation, and I wanted to start at the end of the matter. The end of the matter is that the earth is going to be burnt out, right? It's going to be burning up. It will be totally rent asunder, torn to pieces, right? So the end result of the earth is to be burned up in a fervent heat, and that means everything is burning, everything. And if you look right now, what's happening in the world? What's happening? The conditions of the world are becoming very conducive of fires all over the place right now. So we're progressing towards that end event. What else do we know? The government right now, in the last 2 years, has been preparing for Earth to wobble out of its orbit. So that means you're going to see a time. I've heard guys talk very seriously about the conditions here on this earth and what the populace will do. And a lot of people, when you see people who are in very high stress positions cry because there's no solution to what's happening when they actually have to face reality, and they actually live in the time frame where it's going to take place. And we're talking about some hardened men and women of the uniformed services. When you see defeat in their faces because there is no mitigation to what's coming, you might want to take some things seriously. And it's very unfortunate that will only take place in closed circles. But when you see that, it means that these guys don't have an answer. They don't have any mitigation plans for what's coming. And what I'm talking about is a change in the earth that will be so violent that not one thing is going to be spared, right? Everything is going to be toppled, shaken, really challenged to its core, because you're talking about the entire planet altering its position. Now, we all know that air and water is not it's dynamic. It's not static. It's very dynamic. So if the earth shifts as it moves and settles, water is going to tend to keep its position. And then after the earth finishes any type movement, the water is going to continue to move in the direction it was moving until another force is imposed upon it. Well, for example, if the earth did they call it a stutter. And what a stutter is if the earth suddenly shifts about 28 degrees, right? 28 degrees. If it suddenly shifts 28 degrees, then the earth will move. The soil is the hardened parts of the earth is going to move, but the water in the air, right, is still going to be in its same position until forces begin to act upon the water and the air, and it finally catches up to the momentum or the inertia that was imposed upon the earth. And so what you're looking at is air moving at 200 plus miles an hour, water moving at a very fast rate across all the lands. There will be no structures left. There will be nothing left. You know, in the Bible it says there was a great earthquake. That's what it says, right? And every mountain and island were moved out of its place. You know what I believe? I believe that great earthquake, because in the original text it says earth shaking, there'll be a great earth shaking, and every mountain and island is going to be moved out of its place. I believe that's when this event actually takes place. See, a lot of people are looking for a fault line to crack, that great earthquake, but that's not what the original text is. It's earth shaking. So some sort of event that affects the entire earth, and that would be that event. That would be that exact event. Water and air would have to catch up with an increase. You're going to have an example of a stutter in less than 6 months. We'll have an example of a stutter. And I can almost guarantee you that cities are going to start toppling. In fact, I know that not one person is going to remain in certain cities in the USA. Not one person. These are the times that are coming, and they're quite serious. And there's no way I can convey the seriousness of what's actually going to take place. There's no way. There's nobody with a heart would ever communicate something like that. I don't believe they could actually do that. I don't believe they could.